Top of the day, beautiful people. Happy Saturday. It is June the 25th, 2022, day 142 of year 4 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets. Another 4-year consecutive day count, day 1160. Some comments with my lips. Today, we will be picking up where we left off at in the Oahspe on page 193 in the book of God's Word. Let's get started so we can read as much as we possibly can in this hour and however many minutes we go over the hour because it's Saturday and we can keep reading if we want to. All right, beautiful people. Father, we thank you for another day. We honor you that you are the ever present and are always available to us, your children, whenever we call. Hallelujah. Mom, shalom, shalom. Okay, y'all. Page 193, chapter 22. Yahuwah Mazda called together those who swore allegiance to the Zarathustrian law, and he separated them from the others. And there were in 10 days 30,000 professed followers. Nevertheless, Yahuwah Mazda spake to Zarathustra, saying, of all of these, only 1 in 10 will remain long in faith, and to establish the 10th firmly is more valuable than to have 10 times as many who understand not what they profess. Reminds me of when we read in the New Testament, it talking about the seeds who had been sowed on the seeds who had been sowed and those that didn't take root. Nevertheless, Yahuwah Mazda spake to Zarathustra, saying, of all these, only 1 in 10 will remain long in faith, and to establish the 10th firmly is more valuable than to have 10 times as many who understand not what they profess. Zarathustra asked, how can a 10th be made firm? Yahuwah Mazda said, long ago, I told thee to go and live with the Ehims. Zarathustra said, I understand. I learned the will of Ormazd from the Ehims. Then said Yahuwah Mazda, make thou a will of Ormazd. Right after Ormazd, it has reference letter O. Peace and blessings, Tiffany. Hey, girl, hey. Okay, so hopping to page 216. We find reference letter O, and it says, see plate 63, Samoan, Book of Safa, Signs, Iowe, and Eloe, 1882 edition. All right, so let's go to plate 63. We'll find out what plate 63 is. Linda, shalom, Levine, peace and blessings. Okay, so it told us to go to plate 63. Plate 63, Samoan, page, found on page 522. Oh, okay. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm about to page 522. Okay. My connection is unstable. Please wait while we try reconnecting. Man. Okay, y'all. If it's messing up on YouTube, hop on over to Facebook. Jen Grand Rising. Let me get y'all the link. Sheesh. Okay. Look like it is going a little slow. Okay, yeah. YouTubers. Hold on. Sheesh. I hate this Wi-Fi here. I really do. They need to get it together. Hold on. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. All right, I got the link. All right, y'all. So you would think what you have to pay here, they could at least have the Wi-Fi in good working order all the time. I ain't never been to a hotel where every time the wind blow just a just a little to the east, it knock out the Wi-Fi. Okay, jump to Facebook. If it keeps glitching. Sheesh. Okay, sorry y'all. I can't even control that because of the where we at. So I mean, I guess I could get my like Wi-Fi extender, hook it up to my phone, but that's packed away, and I would have to go buy another one. And we only got like a week left. It's working fine right now. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. Francis, shalom. Okay, y'all. Verse 3. Ahura Mazda said, long ago I told thee to go and live with the Ehings. Zarathustra said, I understand. I learned the will of Ormazd from the Ehings. Then said Ahura Mazda, make thou a will of Ormazd. And we saw what that was, which is simply the symbol which is on the front, right? In the first one, it was just a circle with the leaf. But the second one was the circle with the leaf with the cross in the middle, right? Okay. Zarathustra made a wheel and hung it for slanting, facing the sun at high noon. Then Ahura Mazda explained to the people, saying, this is a symbol of the name of the Creator, Ormazd, the all-light master. Put it in the place betwixt the horns of the crescent, for it is sacred. It is the sign of the altar. It is called the altar. Let the faithers go with me, and I will explain. They carried it to the meeting place and faced it in the same direction. And when the people stood in a circle around it, Ahura Mazda said, the name of this place shall be Horel, and the name of the wheel shall be altar. Okay, so after Horel is reference letter P. So let us go back to page 236 and see what that says. Great Spirit Jehovah. I love how you change your name, y'all over there in Europe. We thank you, O Jehovah, for your truth through your angels. Hallelujah. All right, y'all. Letter P says, no, what up? Hold on. Wait a minute, y'all. 216. Not 236. I'm going to the end of Book of Fraggle Patty. P is found on page 216. It says in Hebrew, the word Horel, i.e., hill of God, Hill, hill of God, is sometimes synonymous with altar. Okay. I read verse 5 again. They carried it to the meeting place and faced it in the same direction. And when the people stood in a circle around it, Ahura Mazda said, the name of this place shall be Horel, and the name of the wheel shall be altar. Behold, then, ye have already sworn an oath under the thigh in the custom of your forefathers. We all remember that. If we read the Bible enough, we know what that, the oath taken right hand under the thigh, right? Okay. The name of this place shall be Horel, and the name of the wheel shall be the altar. Behold, then ye already sworn an oath under the thigh in the custom of your forefathers, but ye shall now renew your oath on the altar of Ormaz and his holy book. Ehuamazah then administered the oath unto many, wherein they covenanted to turn from evil and strive to do good, and each and every one turned the wheel once round as a witness before the Father. And when they had all covenanted, Ehuamazda said, Ye shall make many one road crosseth another, ye shall fix an altar, and ye shall dedicate the wheel to the Creator. I'm just now realizing. Y'all know how people wear um necklaces with diadems on them and emblems and uh whatever to decorate their chain. I thought while I was reading this, I thought about that one. You know what? I thought it was just a wheel from a ship that people who love like navigation and boats wore. That's that. Okay. When they had all covenanted, Ahuamazda said, Ye shall make many wheels and carry them along the roadways, and wherever one road crosseth another, ye shall fix an altar, and ye shall dedicate the wheel to the Creator. Just like people were wearing crosses and stars of David, they were wearing the wheel. Okay, never knew. And whoever passeth that way afterward shall halt and remember his Creator, and he shall renew his covenant to turn from evil and strive to do good, and in testimony before the Father, he shall turn the wheel once around. Thus was established the sacred will of Zarathustra among the Ehuan race. Ehuamazda spake to Zarathustra, saying, What is the most potent thing? Zarathustra said, The eye is the most potent. The eye is the most to be feared, the most desirable. The eye of man can go away from man, his hand cannot go away from him, nor his foot. Man's eye can go to the mountains, to the clouds, to the moon, the sun, and the stars. Huamaza said, If the eye of man is his most potent instrument, what then? Zarathustra said, The eye of Ormaz is his most potent power over man. So Zarathustra made a picture of an eye and placed it over the altar, wherein they said, I know thine eye is upon me night and day. Nothing is hidden from thy sight, O Ormaz. And Huamaza commanded them to place a picture of an eye over the altars in all places of worship. Then came the first night of the new moon, and Zarathustra went into the place of worship, and a great multitude also came in. So Ehuamazda said, This is a mass night for the spirits of the dead. And after mass, it only has one S, M-A-S, but it's clearly the same thing from what I'm reading, what I understand, but it has reference letter Q. So let's hop back over to page 216. Reference letter Q says Mass is also Sanskrit for moon. Okay, 1882 edition. So Ehua Mazda said, this is mass night for the spirits of the dead, that the widow Hittias may have joy this night. I will sing and pray for the spirit of the king, and afterward for all spirits who are in darkness. When they sang and prayed, the spirit of the king came in Sargis and talked to Hittias and to others. And after that, the spirit of the king prayed and sang with the Mazda. Thus was established the first night of the new moon as moon's night or mass for the spirits of the dead, and it was demonstrated before the living. They showed and turned it into something else. If we're talking about the same night here, but I don't think it's the same night. Ehuamaza taught through Zarathustra and simply because I believe it's not the same night, because how the calendar is changed from the calendar of the cycle of the sun, moon, and stars to just days. They pinpoint days every single year. So if you go to those days every single year, you will never see like the same moon cycle um, happening on it. When they sang and prayed, the spirit of the king came in Sargus and talked to Hittias and to others. And after that, the spirit of the king prayed and sang with the Mazda. Thus was established the first night of the new moon as moon's mass, as moon's night mass for the spirits of the dead, and it was demonstrated before the living. The first night of the new moon. So that will be the first night of every new moon cycle. Okay. Yahuwah Mazda taught through Zarathustra for 40 days and nights, teaching the Zarathustrian law, the Ormazdian law, and thousands of people were converted unto righteousness, and these were called disciples. And in parentheses, it has Gatsby, Zarathustra of Zarathustra. And these were called disciples of Zarathustra, or Gatsby, Zarathustra. Zarathustra inquired of Yahuwah Mazda what was the best, most potent thing for the generations of men. Then answered Yahuwah Mazda, saying, the best, most potent thing for the generations of men is to teach the very young child the ever presence of the all potent eye, which sees into the body of mortals, into the behavior of mortals, and into the soul. That's definitely worthy of highlighting. So first it said the most potent thing is the eye. The best, most potent thing for generations of men is to teach the very young child the ever presence of the all potent eye, which sees into the body of mortals, into the behavior of mortals, and into the soul. Y'all know this got to be in our title today. It's definitely the eye. Verse 16, Zarathustra inquired concerning very young children. Then Yahuwah Mazda answered, saying, in 3 days and 5 days and 7 days, the rite of circumcision for males and the piercing the ears for females. And when they are old enough, they shall be consecrated on the wheel. You know, it's a lot of stuff in here about children, especially when we get to the book of divinity. I started to stay like, hey girl, hey. I started to start today off with what it says about abortion. And not just about abortion, not even talking about how people feel about it, but what this says happens in a spiritual realm when things like this is done. But I think I'll wait. Because if I did that, that would kind of be in our title today, and I had all kind of people who, in their feelings, had something to say about it, and it ain't my words. But we're gonna get to it. Let me go back. Zarathustra inquired concerning very young children. Then Yahuwah Mazda answered, saying, in 3 days and 5 days and 7 days, the rite of circumcision for the males and the piercing of the ears for the females. And when they are old enough, they shall be consecrated on the wheel. I saw what you said. Now I have to go back and reprocess what wheel in the middle of a wheel represents. Oh, Tiffany, yeah, girl. Yeah. Verse 17, Zarathustra said, to consecrate, what is that? Then answered Yahuwah Mazda, to profess the All Highest, the Creator, Ormaz. And from that time forth, the young child shall pray to Ormaz every night before going to sleep, and pray every morning as soon as awake to Ormaz, renewing its covenant and acknowledging the presence of the all potent eye. Zarathustra inquired concerning children who were thus not provided. Yahuwah Mazda answered, saying, such children may live or they may die. If they die, they fall into the care of the Druhas and become Druhas themselves. But if they live, they will grow up liars and drooks, killing and stealing. Blessed be the most holy that we got taught something kind of right. Lord have mercy, because I'd have been real pissed if I started learning about this after I had become a Druk or something. I just bless the most holy. Zarathustra inquired concerning a consecrated child. If it died, then Yahuwah Mazda said, if a consecrated child shall die, its soul is received in heaven by the consecrated spirits of Ormaz. Then it is taken to a place of all good, a place of delight. When these things were explained to the disciples, the mothers brought their children before Zarathustra, and Yahuwah Mazda consecrated them on the altar, and they were baptized with water and fire and given names by the Rabbah. And that was the end of chapter 22. Chapter 23. Let me find this page again. Okay. Chapter 23. Zarathustra, the all pure, inquired concerning protection against impostors, to which Yahuwah Mazda answered, saying, prove all things on the altar. If a man come before the people saying, behold, I am a prophet, and he teach strange doctrines, he shall be tied on the wheel with his face toward the sun at high noon. Oh, we need to bring this practice back. Prove all things on the altar, on this wheel, right? On this wheel, prove all things. You a prophet, you want to prophesy, you giving us prophecies of our lives. You prophesying to me, I'm about to get a new car and a new house. Get up on the wheel, prophet. Let me see if I can trust what you say. Listen. Zarathustra, the all pure, inquired concerning protection against impostors. To which Yahuwah Mazda answered, saying, prove all things on the altar. If a man come before the people, saying, behold, I am a prophet, and he teach strange doctrines, he shall be tied on the wheel with his face toward the sun at high noon. And if he be a true prophet, the spirits who dwell by the altar will set him free. But if he be not released on the third night, the wheel shall be carried out into the forest and stood up by the bushes. And if he be an impostor, the wild beast will come and devour his flesh. Let me tell you something. It's only two people that will get up on that wheel. Those who truly are prophets and are not afraid of anything. And the second ones who would get up on that altar would be the very cocky who have not even heard that there be such a wheel. Oh, and what a show that would be that day. And that's good for a second reading, or a third. Zarathustra, the all pure, inquired concerning protection against impostors. To which Yahuwah Mazda answered, saying, prove all things on the altar. If a man come before the people, saying, behold, I am a prophet, and he teach strange doctrines, he shall be tied on the wheel with his face toward the sun at high noon. And if he be a true prophet, the spirits who dwell by the altar will set him free. But if he be not released on the third night, the wheel shall be carried out into the forest and stood up by the bushes. And if he be an impostor, the wild beast will come and devour his flesh. Zarathustra inquired concerning the wheel afterward. Yahuwah Mazda said, when an impostor hath perished on the wheel, behold, the wheel shall no longer be used as before, but the disciples shall cut away the rim of the wheel and cast it away, for it is useless. But the crossbars of the center of the wheel shall be retained. For it was the bars, but the crossbars of the wheel, but the crossbars of the center of the wheel shall be retained, for it was on the bars that he was bound, and the cross of the bars is sacred, and it shall be hung in the place of worship, for it is a true cross. It made me think about the JC that they talk about in the New Testament that was hung on a cross, right? and all these crosses that now hang in the altars in place of worship. After true cross, there's reference letter R. And R says, see plate 63, Samoan Book of Safa, as to the origin of the true cross, look for the symbol fate, FETE, 1882 edition. So what page did we say that was? 522? Look for the symbol fate. Fate. That's not it. This had play 63, right? Yeah. Play 63. Fate. Did I overlook it? That looked like it's it, but that's an H. That's not it. Okay, I need y'all help. Those actually have on page 522. It's the same chart we looked at earlier, right? Hold on. This chart in there is FETE, fate, in there. I think I'm overlooking it. Page 522. If y'all can find what column and what row, or however you want to count that, I'm gonna look one more time. Yes, Francis, absolutely right. In Oahspe, Yahshua was stoned to death. And in here, he's actually called Jashu. All right, y'all might have to forgive me because Father, where is? Maybe I should stop trying to figure out the words and maybe look for the sign, because I. Okay, let me look one more time. We're looking at the symbols. I see a. I want to say Waga. It looked like a wheel. Look like, but that ain't it. Let's say Waga. I don't see it. All right, if y'all find it, help us out. Page 522. Looking for the symbol that says fate. FETE. I see one that kind of look close, but that's clearly an H. It's like, I don't know. That is definitely. All right. I ain't gonna spend any more time on it. But if y'all find it, let me know like what row and what column, or what row going up and down, and like the seventh one over. However you can, so I can find it. Okay. All right. Let's go back. Page 596. We are at chapter 24 now. What time is it? 30 minutes? Okay. Zarathustra inquired concerning the government, to which Ihuamaza replied, saying, to the all pure disciples, there is no need of government, save to do the will of Ormaz, But no people are all pure, no people are all wise. Two kinds of governments created the Creator. The first is his own, the government of Ormuz. The second is the government mortals have amongst themselves. Zarathustra inquired if government did not abridge Zarathustra inquired if government did not abridge liberty. Yahuwah said, "The Ormazdian government giveth liberty, so far as man's government partaketh after the Ormazdian government, it giveth liberty also." Zarathustra inquired, "What is the best, most potent man's government?" To which Yahuwah replied, "This is the best, most potent man's government. First, there shall be no more than 2,000 people, so that they can know one another, and no city shall be larger than that." Well, we didn't completely surpass that. First column, 5 up from the bottom. Okay, let's go back real quick. Let's go back real quick. 522. First column. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there you have it. What? Oh boy. Thank you. Thank you, Mother. Y'all saw how many times I looked at that. Okay, there you have it. And it looks like a open cross. Right here. Can y'all see it? I think I'm holding up for everybody to see. Okay. Right here. FETE. Wow. Thank you. That's why we need one another. We need one another. Because I be missing stuff sometimes. Okay. Verse 4. Zarathustra inquired, "What is the best, most potent man's government?" To which Yahuwah replied, "This is the best, most potent man's government. First, there shall not be more than 2,000 people, so that they can know one another, and no city shall be larger than that. The oldest, wisest, best man shall be the high Rabbah, but the families of tens and families of hundreds within the city shall have each one Rabbah, being the oldest, wisest, best man. These Rabbahs shall be the government of the city. They shall have a government house, and it shall be the place of decrees." Imagine how much better it would be living under a government as intimate as that, where there are no more than 2,000 people and everybody knows everybody. I mean, that could be a bad thing, but it can be really, really good, because there wouldn't be a lot of these unjust some of these unjust things that are done throughout the government, and the chains of command in the government to people. Like your you would really, how can I word this? You wouldn't I would say there would not be any kind, not saying that there wouldn't be any kind of unjust judgments coming down from those who judge, but with everybody knowing everybody, and who would be the witnesses at these trials and stuff? The entire city, right? Everybody would show up for judgment day, and nobody, you can't really screw over people in an intimate community where everybody's looking out for everybody. Like if it was something truly off with somebody, that community is small enough to know that y'all know he ain't right. Why would you, what, he's dealing with like mental issues, or he was born with such and such, and nobody would be killed. You know how we see on the news where cops show up and nobody's let the cops know that this person has been off of their meds for like a week or whatever, and this is not their normal way of acting. They just show up guns blazing, and another person is killed needlessly. It wouldn't be any of that. The community is so small, it's so intimate that everybody would know the ins and outs of the everything with everybody, right? And so there would be a lot more justice, and there would be a lot less shenanigans happening. Auntie, Grand Rising. Okay, let me read. Let me read this again. Verse 4. Zarathustra inquired, "What is the best, most potent man's government?" To which Yahuwah Mazda replied, this is the best, most potent man's government. First, there shall not be more than 2,000 people, so that they can know one another, and no city shall be larger than that. The oldest, wisest, best man shall be the high rabbah, but the families of tens and families of hundreds within the city shall each I'm sorry. The oldest, wisest, best man shall be the high rabbah, but the families of tens and families of hundreds within the city shall have each one rabbah, being the oldest, wisest, best man. These rabbis shall be the government of the city. They, sh- they shall have a government house, and it shall be the place of decrees. Zarathustra said, "How shall they make decrees, that the decrees pervert not liberty?" Yahuwah Mazda said, "Ask not this, O man. He who crieth out constantly for his liberty is a selfish man. He is a drook." Give me liberty or give me death. Now we're looking at you with the side eye. Hold on. I say a lot about this. But one person did come to mind, but that's that's a bunch of internet drama right now, so I'm gonna just leave that alone. Let me read this again. Zarathustra said, "How shall they make decrees, that the decrees pervert not liberty?" Yahuwah Mazda said, "Ask not this, O man. He who crieth out constantly for his liberty is a selfish man. He is a drook. Save a man be willing to sacrifice his liberty somewhat for the public good, he is unworthy before Ormaz. To find the amount of sacrifice, that is the business of the decrees." That's good to read one more time. Zarathustra, verse 7. Zarathustra said, "How shall they make decrees, that the decrees pervert not liberty?" Yahuwah Mazda said, "Ask not this, O man. He who crieth out constantly for his liberty is a selfish man. He is a drook. Save a man be willing to sacrifice his liberty somewhat for the public good, he is unworthy before Ormaz. To find the amount of sacrifice, this is the business of the decrees." Zarathustra said, "How then shall the rabbah proceed?" Yahuwah Mazda said, "When they are seated, the chief rabbah shall announce the subject, neither shall any other rabbah announce the subject. But if a rabbah have a subject, he shall state it beforehand to the chief rabbah. After the subject is announced, then shall all the rabbis speak on the subject, but they shall not speak against one another, each one declaring his highest light." Boy, they be going for broke. In their little council meetings today, they they some of them be getting a scrapping. It's like, well, wait a minute, and y'all are civil leaders. When they have all spoken, then shall the chief rabbah speak his highest lights, which he gathereth from the others in the first place, but which is afterward illuminated by the light of Ormaz, and this shall be the decree. Zarathustra inquired concerning the laws betwixt cities. Yahuwah Mazda spake to Zarathustra, the all pure, explaining the Ormazdian law. He said, "A city is a family of one. A small village is a family of one, for which reason a city is called Ir. Ir. A small That's good. A small village is a family of one, for which reason is a city called And every city shall have one God. I've been saying Gadir when I see that. And every city shall have one Gadir, who shall be the oldest, best wise man. The Gadirs shall meet into council to consider what is good for all the cities jointly. Some cities are situated for flax and wool, some for iron, some for copper, and some for ships. Zarathustra inquired concerning the council of Gadirs. Mazda answered him, saying, the Gadirs shall choose the oldest, best, wise man amongst them, and he shall be called the Gadir chief. Oh, I like this. Uh, okay, so we might have to add this to our list, our hierarchy. But this is like the hierarchy on the earth. Okay, I'll start this over. Verse 12. Zarathustra inquired concerning the council of Gadirs. Mazda answered him, saying, the Gadirs shall choose the oldest, best, wise man amongst them, and he shall be called Gadir chief. And he shall sit in the east, in the council chamber, and he shall present the subjects after they have been told to him by the other Gadirs. And when they have presented a subject, all the members shall speak upon it. And after they have all spoken, then the Gadir chief shall speak, and his words shall be the decree, which shall be called the Zarathustrian law, because the all light dwelleth with the chief, and he cannot err. This is the Ormazdian law, the Ehuamazdian law, the Zarathustrian law. Zarathustra said, of a walled city, Giryah, Giryah, that's in parentheses, of a walled city, Giryah, what is the Ormazian law? Mazda answered, saying, to the Ehins, walled cities, to the Ehuans, cities without walls, to the cities of Drooks, walls, like block all them in. Let me read that again. To the Ehins, walled cities. To the Ehuans, cities without walls. To the cities of the Drooks, walls. This is the kingdom of Ehua Mazda. They that have faith. Why shall they build walls? Let me read it again. Start at verse 13 at the very beginning. Zarathustra said, of a walled city, Giryah, what is the Ormazdian law? Mazda answered, saying, to the Ehins, walled cities, to the Ehuans, cities without walls, to the cities of the Drooks, walls. This is the kingdom of Mazda. They that have faith, why shall they build walls? They shall not hoard up gold or silver, none will rob them. After Zarathustra, two people will live. One shall be the people of this world, the other shall be the people of Ormazd. The former shall strive for earthly things, the latter for spiritual things, and there shall be no affinity betwixt these two people. From this time forth, the Zarathustrian people who have faith in the Father shall not have walled cities, save the Ehins, the sacred people. But this world's people, having no faith in the Father, shall have faith in stone walls, whereby they may know which are righteous in my sight. But this world's people, having no faith in the Father, shall have faith in stone walls, whereby ye may know which are righteous in my sight. Zarathustra inquired concerning the smallest of cities. Mazda answered him, saying, the smallest city is a man and his wife and children. Y'all know I got to highlight that. We is a city of 12, technically 13. And even, hold on, verse 14, Zarathustra inquired concerning the smallest of cities. Yahuwah Mazda answered him, saying, the smallest city is a man and his wife and children. And even as the people in a large city are one with one another, so shall a man and his wife and children be one with one another. And as a large city must have a head father, so shall a small one. Whatsoever hath no head is nothing. And that'll preach to all the families. Yo. Which we can see why when the family is broken down, the city goes to pot. We'll just keep it like that, right? This is good. I'm gonna just read this again, if y'all don't mind. Verse 14. Zarathustra inquired concerning the smallest of cities. Yahuwah Mazda answered him, saying, the smallest city is a man and his wife and children. And even as the people in a large city are one with one another, so shall a man and his wife and children be one with one another. And as a large city must have a head father, so shall a small one. Whatsoever hath no head is nothing. Even if we just look at the body, you take your head, your body falls to the ground. It is nothing. It can't live. It's impossible. Zarathustra said, in the government of a large city, the fathers speak on a subject, and after them the head father decreeth. Yahuwah Mazda said, even so shall it be in a family of a husband and a wife. The wife shall speak first, and the children next, if old enough, and after that the father shall decree. We might have that down. Look, hold on. And he over there knocked. Oh, you know he be commenting right now. Hey, Tootie. Hey, girl, hey. Okay. Verse 17. Yahuwah Mazda said, even so shall it be in a family of husband and wife. The wife shall speak first, and the children next, if old enough. And after that, the father shall decree. That which is a good law for a large city is good for a small one. As the kingdoms in heaven are governed, so shall be the kingdoms of earth. Zarathustra inquired concerning a bad husband and a good wife, and a bad wife and a good husband. I didn't even know all this was here, but let's keep reading. Zarathustra inquired concerning a bad husband and a good wife, and a bad wife and a good husband. Yahuwah Mazda spake to Zarathustra the all pure, saying, who knoweth what is good and what is bad? Are not all men to give themselves as sacrifice to the Father, and all women also? If a good woman is not willing to sacrifice herself to a bad husband after having sworn to Ormaz, then she is not good, but a lover of herself. And most women would do this. What? They pick up the chair and throw it right at the book. We just being honest, right? Ladies, let's be honest with ourselves, right? How many of y'all is willing to do that? How, how many got the strength and wherewithal and the stickability to do that in service of the Father? Our generation don't even teach us to do that. We got to go against the grain, and we look like the oddballs out. Bruh, read this again. I'm gonna read this again for the men. I root for y'all. I really do. Verse 18. Let me start again. This might be this. I think this title gonna trump all titles today. This is I got to do this. Zarathustra inquired concerning a bad husband and a good wife, and a bad wife and a good husband. Yahuwah Mazda spake to Zarathustra the all pure, saying, who knoweth what is good and what is bad? Are not all men to give themselves as sacrifice to the Father, and all women also? If a good woman is not willing to sacrifice herself to a bad husband after having sworn to Ormaz, then she is not good, but a lover of herself. A good woman hath no self to serve. All my ladies, get your highlighters and let's highlight that together. A good woman hath no self to serve. A good woman hath no self to serve, because her husband turneth out bad, shall she also? Because her husband turneth out bad, shall she also? Is it not good for her in the place Ormaz provided? Is it not good for her in the place Ormaz provided? Shall she set up her judgment against the fathers? If there be men of evil and of passion who, I'm sorry, let me go back. I read it wrong. Verse 20. There be men of evil and of passion who abuse their wives. Knoweth not every damsel this? For this reason, if she commit herself to her husband in the name of the Father, he heareth her, and he established his kingdom in her house. And that man and woman have no longer themselves to consult as to their desires. For if the father desireth her to leave her husband, or the husband to leave the wife, listen, bruh, they should have put this in a holy Bible. Listen to this. I bet none of y'all ain't never heard this a day in y'all life. Hold on. We're going to tell you what it said if the father want them to separate, what he going to allow to happen. Father, help us all. Listen. Let me just go back to verse 20. Let me start it over. Y'all pay attention now. Listen. There be men of evil and of passion who abuse their wives. Knoweth not every damsel this? For this reason, if she commit herself to her husband in the name of the Father, he heareth her, and he established his kingdom in her house. And that man and that woman have no longer themselves to consult as to their desires. For if the father desireth her to leave her husband, or the husband to leave the wife, he taketh one of them to heaven. And there you have it. I didn't say that. I'm definitely going to highlight that, right? That's good for moments of silence and to ponder. Trina, hey girl, hey. Did I say hey already? I feel like I missed saying hey. Okay. One more time, then we're going to keep reading. Just in case somebody just came in. Verse 20. There be evil men and of passion who abuse their wives. Knoweth not every damsel this? For this reason, if she commit to her husband in the name of the Father, he heareth her, and he established his kingdom in her house. And that man and that woman have no longer themselves to consult as to their desires. For if the Father desireth her to leave her husband, or the husband to leave the wife, he taketh one of them to heaven. Think not that he changeth as the wind, or boweth himself to please the caprice of man or woman. Rather, let the good wife with the bad husband say to Ormaz, because I was vain, thou hast rebuked me, O Father. Because I sought to change my condition, thou hast shown me I knew not what was good for me. Yea, thou hast shown me the folly of my judgment before thee, and I will profit in turning to thy will. I will not more open my mouth in complaint. Though I be scourged with stripes and made ashamed of my household, yet I will glorify thee. The city thou hast founded in me, where I began at the foundation, and build up as a holy city in thy name. Okay, hold on, y'all. Shayla, I know, right? Like, hey, hold on. It's like a business card kind of loud. I'm gonna try and read a little louder. Okay. Verse 22. And she shall say to her husband, oh, this is a hard one. I hope ain't nobody in this situation. And she shall say to her husband who beateth her. Yes. What you tell me about your girl? No, it's not a trailer at the warehouse. No, it's not at the warehouse. It's at the job site. No, we can't go to that one. You can't go to that one. Yes, you and Daddy? No, I'm not going today. Okay. Let me just go back to 20. Okay, listen. Think not that he changeth, that Yah or Ormaz changeth as the wind, or boweth himself to please the caprice of man or woman. Rather, let the good wife with a bad husband say to Ormaz, because I was vain, thou hast rebuked me, O Father, because I sought to change my condition, thou hast shown me I knew not what was good for me. Yea, thou hast shown me the folly of my judgment before thee, and I will profit in turning to thy will. I will not more open my mouth in complaint. Though I be scourged with stripes and made ashamed of my household, yet I will glorify thee. The city thou hast founded in me will I begin at the foundation and build up as a holy city in thy name. And that's real sacrifice and selflessness to the Father. And she shall say to her husband who beateth her, because the Father gave thee to me, I will rejoice and sing in thy praise. Before I sleep at night, I will ask his blessing upon thee, and in the early morning and at high noon. Though thou mayest hate me, yet will I do great works. Though thou mayest hate me, yet will I do so good works for thee, thou shalt love me. Though thou mayest kill me, yet will I go to heaven and build a house for thee. I don't know if I made it there yet. Because I ain't going to sit back and let you kill me. I'm just, that's my truth, and I'm going to live in it. Chapter 25. That's a good chapter, though, y'all. It's good. It's a tough one. Chapter 25. Zarathustra, the all pure, divided the people, leading his followers away from the others, taking them into good places of delight. After that, he looked back with compassion, and he said to Ahura Mazda, what of them who would not accept the Ormazdian law? Ahura Mazda answered him, saying, behold, thy arms are full. Let the dead have dominion with the dead. Not only this generation, but many that come after thee will not be alive. But many that come after thee will not be alive to the Ormazdian law. Zarathustra apportioned his people into cities and villages and families, but over the whole of them he appointed Usavak as chief, one of his companions who came with him from Oahspe. Mommy, you can come here for a minute. Girl, what you need? You can just come here. 1 second, people. Oh, it's gone. Get you another one. It dropped all the way down. Sorry. Oh, I can't get that now. It's another one. It's a new one in the pack. Grab the big one out. She dropped a toothbrush down the drain. And it was still up a little bit where I could get it. But when I stuck my hand down there, I thought I had it. Then I tried to stick. I had lift up and tried to get in a different angle. It just dropped all the way down. Well, it's gone. Okay. Verse 2? What of them who would not accept the Ormazdian law? Ahura Mazda answered him, saying, behold, thy arms are full. Let the dead have dominion with the dead. Not only this generation, but many that come after thee will not be alive to the Ormazdian law. Zarathustra apportioned his people into the cities and villages and families, but over the whole of them he appointed Usavak as chief, one of his companions who came with him from Oahspe. And when Usavak was established, Zarathustra and his companions traveled further and came to the city of Nikiro, kingdom of Aboatha, king of 12 generations through his forefathers, whose title was Aboatha, son of Uzzah, son of Nimrod, son of the house of Tusain, who was descended from before the world was. That was the whole title. Nikiro was a walled city, but the Zarathustrians gained entrance without paying tribute because the law thus favored strangers. Aboatha in his youth had traveled amongst the Parsians who knew the language, and when Zarathustra was before him, speaking in the Oahsian tongue, the king inquired his business and how long he purposed staying, stating, moreover, that he had received the tablets of the Ormazdian law with the interpretations from the king of the sun, Asha, and that he had desired to see Zarathustra. Zarathustra said, I came to establish the Ormazdian law. In the name of the All Light will I blunt the edge of the sword and spear. Until I have fulfilled the commandments upon me, I shall tarry within thy city. Of the of things thou hast read in the holy book, I am come in person of Yahuwah Mazda. I am come in the person of Yahuwah Mazda. The king said, my city is not large. I have more scalps and skulls for the size of my city than any other king in the world. But thou know, O man, I am a philosopher. Many of my people are also learned people. Hear thou me, then, and if thou hast a greater philosophy than I have, I will not only bequeath thee with public skulls and scalps to be thy treasure forever, but I will also give my skull and scalp into thy hand as the most valuable treasure in the Japhethan Empire. He he about to find out. Zarathustra said, thou hast set as great value on skulls and scalps, because they are the product of labor, yet they are of no value to me, nor of the Father in heaven. Neither have I any philosophy for thee or for the Father's begotten, to accept his will, to be servant unto him, by doing good unto others, comprise the whole of the law, by which all men may be made to rejoice in their creation. The king said, think not that I am as other men. I am not as other men. In the first beginning of all things, there were 7 and 9 things. I was one of them. What? He real cocky. In the beginning, there were 7 and 9 things. One of them was me. By division, we created all there is in heaven and earth. 7,007 millions and 9,009 millions of times I have divided myself. 1/7 and 1/9 of all there are of created things is my very self. Tell me then, hast thou as great a philosophy as this? Zarathustra said, oh, the folly of men before thee. Oh, Zarathustra said, oh, the folly of men before thee, O Ormaz. He just looked up. You heard what his direction just said. Zarathustra said, oh, the folly of men before thee, O Ormaz. They run after that which flattereth self, seeing their followers going down in death, and they raise not their hands to lift them up. I tell thee, O king, thy poorest slave that bringeth out of the earth food for 2 men hath a greater philosophy than thine. He that can rule over his own self conceit, that speaketh not of himself, give a better philosophy of himself than thou hast. He who hath not yet been risen from his mother's breast hath more treasures to give than thou hast obtained with thy philosophy. Ere 3 days have passed by, the city's skulls and scalps will be burnt to dust, nor will thy philosophy avail thee to stay the hand of Yahuwah Mazda. The king said, Proposes thou with proposes thou with this handful of men to battle with my army? Zarathustra said, I have spoken. There is no value in discoursing with any man who hath an opinion to establish, nor is man's opinion of value to raise up the souls of men. Bring thou therefore thy army and command them to fall upon me and mine. The king said, Thou hast no weapons. Think not that I battle with men who use their tongues like women. Oh, he ready. He ready to go. The king said, Thou hast no weapons. Think not that I battle with men who use their tongues like women. Zarathustra said, why boastest thou? Thy soldiers will turn and flee when thou bringest them against me. The king turned away then and ordered his officers to bring soldiers and dispatch Zarathustra and his companions and to hang their skulls and scalps on the walls. Zarathustra and his companions went into the king's garden and formed an altar. When the sun had set, the evening came, the king's soldiers, more than 10,000, came upon them. Yahuwah Mazda had great power because of the faith of Zarathustra, and he spake with a loud voice, saying, Light of thy light, O Ormazd, build me here a wall of fire. And behold, there fell from heaven curtains of fire, till a great wall stood betwixt the two people, nor would one soldier throw a spear or a sling, and many of them broke and fled. When the king saw the power of Zarathustra, he feared for his kingdom, and not deciding at once what course to pursue, he went into his palace. Then came Zarathustra and his companions out of the garden, but the light extended up above Zarathustra's head like a pillar of fire. Yahuwah Mazda spake to some who were nearest, saying, Run quickly and call the soldiers back, saying to them, They shall be my soldiers, and I will give them the weapons of the Creator. So the messengers ran and brought many of them back. Yahuwah Mazda commanded them to gather the skulls and scalps from the city walls and from the gates and to go burn them, and the soldiers did these things. The next day, after they were consumed, Yahuwah Mazda began to preach, explaining the Ormazdian law, and he received many followers. The king had tried by all means to gather his soldiers together, but no one obeyed him. After that, Zarathustra went to him, saying, If thou art 1/7 and 1/9 of all things, who thinkest thou that I am? I'm the captain now. I'm the captain now. You know, he had to say something slick back to the king. Listen. Hold on, let me read that again. Verse 18, page 201. The next day, after they were consumed, Yahuwah Mazda began to preach, explaining the Ormazdian law, and he received many followers. The king had tried by all means to gather his soldiers together, but no one obeyed him. After that, Zarathustra went to him, saying, If thou art 1/7 and 1/9 of all things, who thinkest thou I am? The king said, They say thou art a very creator. But as to my opinion, thou art only a magician. Mama. Thou canst do. I love it, girl. You got it wrapped so nice and tight and pretty. Look, it says, I actually have this under it. I see. Very stylish, girl. The king say, they are. The king said, They say thou art a very creator. But as to my opinion, thou art only a magician. Thou canst not do anything real, for which reason I hope thou wouldest come before me. Now then, thy end have come. With that, the king struck at Zarathustra.
You can make this.
Girl, wait, put that back. With that, the king struck at Zarathustra, but the king's sword was broken into pieces and of non effect. The king had two trained cheetahs. What you think your cheetah's gonna do? The king had two trained cheetahs, large as the largest lions, and he ordered them to be unloosed and set upon Zarathustra. And it was done. But lo and behold, the cheetahs came and licked his hands. But the king was hardened and would not believe. Yahuwah Mazda called the king to come near, and he came. He said unto the king, I am not thy enemy, but the enemy of evil. I come not to take thy kingdom. In a few days I shall leave this place, so thy kingdom would be worthless to me. And yet I come to establish another kingdom, which is the Father's. I come to overthrow sin and wickedness and to build up that which is good. And in so doing, it shall be known amongst men that the soul is immortal. Rather would I see thee and thy people alive and full of joy than to see them dead. Thou hast said thou understandest the Ormazdian law, perceiving there is also a king's law. The king's laws are for the earth world to punish the wicked and reward the valorous. The Ormazdian law is for the Zarathustrians who need no kings. Thy subjects are for war and plunder, but the subjects of the Great Spirit are for doing good and in love and mercy. And have not I shown thee that the Ormazdian laws are the stronger of the two? Yea, 100-fold. It is wiser for thee to espouse the stronger law. Thou hast certain treasures, boasting of thy treasures' values, because thou hast made a law of exchange for skulls and scalps. How sayest thou? Makest thou them valuable? Because a man bringeth a skull to thee, thou givest him bread. Now I declare unto thee, values consist not in rate of exchange betwixt men. Shall a man gather a heap of stones and say, behold, they are valuable, or iron, or gold, or copper, and say, behold, they are valuable? A piece of bread is valuable, or flax, or wool. Because man hath set value on things not valuable, he buildeth in falsehood and death. Ormaz alone is valuable. The man who hath the most all light hath the greatest valuables. For by the light of the Father, all righteous things can be obtained easily. Whilst Ahuamaza was yet speaking, the spirit of Zarathustra went abroad, and with 10,000 other spirits brought fish and fruit and let them fall all about the place. The people ran and gathered them up for food. The king made no reply at first, for he was encompassed about with evil spirits who are angered with Yahuwah Mazda and his proceedings. Presently, the king said, because I am transcended by thee, it is no longer useful for me to live. With that, he cut his belly across and fell dead. These dudes be all in their feelings. He was like, you know what, this is it. It ain't useful for me to live no more. Like, bro, he's just telling you to do what's right. Like, listen to this. Because I am transcended by thee, it is no longer useful for me to live. With that, he cut his belly across and fell dead. And Zarathustra commanded that the king's body be laid straight for 3 days, and it was done. And there came thousands of people to look upon the king and witness that he was dead. And they saw of a truth that the bowels were gushed out of the womb, and that there was no breath in him. So Yahuwah Mazda suffered the spirit of the king to live 3 days in torments. And then he called his disciples around him, saying, now I will raise the king to life, and it shall be testimony in Japheth. And Zarathustra pushed the bowels back into the belly and drew the place shut, saying, in thy name, O Father, heal this man's body as a testimony of thy wisdom and power. And when Zarathustra had drawn his hand over the belly twice, he was healed. And when Zarathustra said, O Father, as by thy spirit thou didst quicken into this life thy child in his mother's womb, restore him to life. And the king was healed and restored to life before the people, and he awoke and looked about and then rose up. He said, even now I was dead and in hell, and I saw millions of the dead, and they were in hell also, and there went up around about them fires of burning brimstone, and none could escape. Whew. We gotta read. We gotta read on at least one more, two more chapters. Y'all still here? All right. Chapter 26. I mean, we got to see the end of this. We got to see it through. When the king was restored, he was another man, having suis and believing with full conviction. And he asked Zarathustra what now he should do that he might escape the fires of hell after death. Y'all remember what suis is? We'll go back real quick and read it in the glossary. Suis. It's also in the index, but in the index, it's kind of giving you the definition, but it's giving you all the places where it's located at. So we'll go right to the glossary. Suis. Suis. On page 785. Suis is spelled two different ways. Suis, S-U apostrophe I-S, and just S-U-I-S with no apostrophe. Clairaudience and clairvoyance. A person who has these abilities. These individuals may possibly have paranormal abilities as well. Right? Okay, so let's go back. When the king was restored, he was another man, having suis and believing with full conviction. And he asked Zarathustra what now he should do that he might escape the fires of hell after death. Yahuwah Mazda spake through Zarathustra, saying, Think not what thou can do to escape hell fire, for that would be laboring for self. Think what thou can do to save others, for which reason thou shalt practice for which reason thou shalt practice the Ormazdian law. 1 year shalt thou dwell with the poor, carrying the alms bowl, according to the Zarathustrian law. We remember this from when Asha was king, right? All those who would be king need to understand the plight of even the lowest person who would ever be in their kingdom, which is why all kings are commanded to live with the poor for a year, right? Yahuwah Mazda spake through Zarathustra, saying, Think not what thou canst do to escape hell fire, for that would be laboring for self. Think what thou canst do to save others, for which reason thou shalt practice the Ormazdian law. 1 year shalt thou dwell with the poor, carrying the alms bowl, according to the Zarathustrian law. After that, thou shalt preach the Ehuamazian law of the denial of self for the good of the city, teaching the turning away from earthly things and striving for spiritual things, having faith in Ormaz. The king said, All these things I can do, yet one thing I cannot do, which is having faith in Ormaz. If he be a person and created all creation, is he not the foundation of evil as well as good? If he heretofore created evil, or by incompetence suffered it to enter into creation, may he not do so in after time, even after death? Yahuwah Mazda said, When a potter hath a pot half made, sayest thou, it is an evil pot? Nay, verily, but that it is not yet completed. Even so are all men created by Ormaz, those who are good and complete, but those who are evil are unfinished work. That's good, right? Also reminds us what they say about us two things, right and unripe. Like there is not good and evil, it's just right and those that are unripe, right? Or you're not quite done cooking yet. You're not quite done developing yet, right? I'll read this again, verse 4. Yahuwah Mazda said, when a potter hath a pot half made, sayest thou, it is an evil pot? Nay, verily, but that it is not yet completed. Even so are all men created by Ormazd. Those who are good are complete, but those who are evil are unfinished work. But the Creator also gave man knowledge that he might see himself in the unfinished state, and the creator gave man and the creator gave to man power and judgment that man might turn to and help complete himself, thereby sharing the glory of his creator. The man that doeth this is already clear of hell fire. He that doeth it not shall not escape. The king inquired concerning animals, to which Yahuwah Mazda answered, saying, animals are of the earth creation, and are completed in the place of their dwelling. Neither hath any animal aspiration to make itself better or wiser, that it may contribute to the creation. And some men have no more aspiration than an animal serving the beast, the flesh man only. Read that again. And some men have no more aspiration than an animal serving the beast, the flesh man only. Only the torments of hell can stir them up. When Yahuwah Mazda explained the Ormazian law, the quarter of which is not here related, the king comprehended, whereupon he took vows on the altar and under the eye, according to the Zarathustrian law. So when those people were restored, Zarathustra left one of his traveling companions with them as Gadir in chief, and Zarathustra departed, excuse me, taking his other companions with him, whereof it is recorded in the libraries of heaven, showing that the next city kingdom was likewise delivered, and the people became Zarathustrians. And again, Zarathustra departed and came to another city, which was overthrown and delivered also, until it came to pass that Zarathustra overthrew and delivered 24 cities in the kingdoms of Japheth. You cannot find out one thing to argue with in this book in in um in regards to the Bible. If anything, this adds great understanding to the scriptures that we only have for all of our life, the 66 books. It adds great understanding, and it sorts out a lot of stuff that we was chopped and screwed on. It really does. This is so good. Like they should be paired together. Like if you're gonna keep one, and I don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. I keeps my Bible now. I do. Some people may not. This is burn it all ain't good for nothing but the fire. I wouldn't say that. That's how I got to this point where I am today, by devouring that, asking questions, going through it. There's nothing that you can argue with about the Oahspe in relation to that. It's only adding more enlightenment to the laws we learned and kept to, right? I'll read verse 7 again. Whereof it is recorded in the libraries of heaven, showing that the next city kingdom was likewise delivered, and the people became Zarathustrians. And again, Zarathustra departed and came to another city, which was overthrown and delivered also, until it came to pass that Zarathustra overthrew and delivered 24 cities and kingdoms in Japheth. And after that, he departed to the upper lands of Shem, where he also overthrew and delivered many cities and kingdoms, establishing the Zarathustrian law. And we remember from here that the lands of Shem is what we know today as the lands of India. Thailand, hey girl, hey. For 2 whole years he labored in Shem, and so great was the power of Ormazd upon Zarathustra that all the cities and kingdoms of Shem threw off bondage in the sun kingdom of Parsi. After that, Zarathustra traveled toward Ham, which was called Arabinia, right? Which is like, excuse me, Arabia, or Northeast Africa, what they call the Middle East today. That's Arabinia. After that, Zarathustra traveled toward Ham, which was called Arabinia. But in those countries, Zarathustra had not so great success because the people were not learned in books, nor in the stars, nor tablets. Nevertheless, Zarathustra delivered many cities. So Ehua Mazda said to Zarathustra, "Go back now to thine own country, and thou shalt overthrow yet 7 cities and 7 great kingdoms, and after that thou shalt turn to Oahspe, and it shall fall before thy hand, that the prophecies of thy childhood be fulfilled." So Zarathustra returned to Parsi and went to the 7 great cities and kingdoms and overthrew them, and many of them were destroyed utterly by fire and by war. But Zarathustra delivered the faithful and established the Zarathustrian law with all of them. And now he returned to his native city, Oahspe, according to the commandment of Ehua Mazda. We at 127. But I feel like I can go like a couple more chapters. It's Saturday, and plus the hubs and bells just left out to go grab something to eat. So we're going to capitalize on this time, right? Let's keep going. And keep going. And so whatever chapter we in, when they arrive back, we'll we'll end it at the end of that chapter. Tylane, hey, okay, okay. She said I made it through a 40-hour fast. Girl, I know. The first time trying to get through it, it is the hardest, right? But congratulations. Now keep going till you can make it to a 40-day fast. Make it through a 40-day fast. Take some time. Take some time. But you will get there, sis. You will get there. 27. Okay. Chapter 27 on page 204. In those days, Panya was king of Oahspe, and by title, king of the sun, king of the middle of the world, king of kings, mightiest of mortals, owner of all human flesh, ruler of the earth, and master of life and death. That's his whole title. For nearly 4 years had Zarathustra been absent, and the effect of his preaching in foreign lands had been to cut off the paying of tribute to the city of the sun, for which reason Panya, king of Oahspe, had sworn an oath under his own thigh to pursue Zarathustra and have him slain. We got somebody else trying to comfort his head. He knew. He don't know, but he gonna find out. Accordingly, the king had equipped many different armies and sent them in search of Zarathustra. But Ehua Mazda led Zarathustra in a different way on the one hand, and sent spirits to inspire the soldiers to go another way. Consequently, none of the armies sent to capture consequently, none of the armies sent to capture Zarathustra ever found him. When he was heard of in one city, and the soldiers came to that city, he was gone. And so it continued until now Zarathustra had returned to the very gates of Oahspe. Because Zarathustra was the largest man in the world, he was easily known, and from a description of him, even those who had never seen him would know him the first time they laid their eyes on him. Asha had continued with the Zarathustrians, but in consequence of the persecutions of the kings of Oahspe, they had been obliged to retire further into the forests and plains and unsettled regions where roved the Listians and wild people. To these, the Zarathustrians were friends, and the Listians came in great numbers and dwelt about the Zarathustrians. After Zarathustra had completed his travels, he returned to the forest of goats, in the first place, to meet his followers and to rejoice with them for the great light Ehua Mazda had bestowed upon them. So when Zarathustra returned to them, there was great rejoicing, and there were present Zarathustra's mother and many of the Listians who knew him in his childhood. After many days of rest and rejoicing, Mazda came to Zarathustra, saying, Behold, the time hath now come to go against the city of thy birth. Take Asha with thee, and I will call Oahspe to fall before thy hand. Accordingly, Zarathustra took Asha and returned as stated to the gates of Oahspe, but he was known at once. And when he demanded admittance, he was refused because the king had previously decreed his because the king had previously decreed his banishment and death, there being an officer of reward to whomsoever would destroy him and bring his skull to the king. The keeper of the gate, whose name was Zudas, thought, excuse me, thought to obtain the reward and hit upon the following plan, saying to Zarathustra, I know thee, thou art Zarathustra, who art banished under the penalty of death. And after this guy's name, Zudas, Zhoo apostrophe Das, there is a reference letter number S. Y'all, we almost done with this. We're going to be finished with this tomorrow. Ooh, then we get to start the book of divinity. Oh my gosh, I'm super excited. Okay. Zudas is Judas. In reference to the betrayal of Jesus, is not a Hebrew name, but Farsi, but Parsi, 1882 edition. The story of Judas and Jesus was adopted from historical records of Zudas and Zarathustra by the First Ecumenical Council under the direction of Constantine. The name Jesus was a derivation of the word Iesu. See God's Book of Esra, chapter XLVIII. What is the L's? See, I'm just getting the X's down. XL. Hold on. Super Bowl. I don't know. We're gonna figure it out in a second. Hold on. Let me read this again, and we're gonna go there and look at that. Hold on. Okay. So they remind me of something. I was in one of the lives yesterday on Selah Shalom TV, and one of the ladies who come in here from time to time, she made a mention. 50. We about to see Jen. She made a mention that the story of Jesus in the New Testament was adopted and borrowed from Zarathustra, and I can completely see that, right? Because we already been talking about that he was just like this created character. They taken a lot of different stories and lumped them together and made them one person and just called him Jesus in the New Testament, right? Oh, that's a baby. But I can completely see that as we go through here. Okay, so let me read this again. I'm going to read the footnote and then we're going to go to the reference note. Okay, verse 9, page 205. The keeper of the gate, whose name was Zudas, thought to obtain the reward and hit upon the following plan, saying to Zarathustra, I know thee, thou art Zarathustra, who art banished under the penalty of death. Right, so remember Judas gave up Jesus for some coins, for a little bit of change. Okay, so let's go to where this said go. Judas, in reference to the betrayal of Jesus, is not a Hebrew name, but Parsi, 1882 edition. The story of Judas and Jesus was adopted from historical records of Zudas and Zarathustra by the First Ecumenical Council under the direction of Constantine. The name Jesus was a derivation of the word Iesu. See God's Book of Esra, chapter XLVIII, verse 50. Let's find the Book of Esra. Book of Esra, 585. XLVI. Okay, XLI, XL. Okay, XLI, XLV. XL. XLV, and it's 3 I's. Verse 50. Okay, it's on page 628. Verse 50 is on page 629. Okay. Okay, let me read this again. Judas, Judas, in reference to the betrayal of Jesus, is not a Hebrew name, but Parsi, 1882 edition. The story of Judas and Jesus was adopted from historical records of Judas and Zarathustra by the first ecumenical council under the direction of Constantine. The name Jesus was a derivation of the word Iesu. See God's Book of Ezra. We'll go to here, verse 50. Haters said, the gods will not let us choose any man. Now therefore hear me. All lawgivers chosen by the gods have been Iesu. Now since we cannot make preference as to a man, let us say the man Iesu. Oh, okay. Let me just highlight this. Okay. So lawgiver. Okay, read this again. Haters said, the gods will not let us choose any man. Now therefore hear me. All the lawgivers chosen by the gods have been Iesu. Now, since we cannot make preference as to a man, let us say the man Iesu, or the man in New Testament, the man Jesus. Let's look up, let's hold this. Let's look up Iesu again. We did a little while ago. So you can remember what an Iesu is, right? Iesu. It's on page 778. Iesu or Yeshua. A sexless person, one born without the possibility of sexless passion. We read this week. I remember reading this week. Okay. Iesu or Yeshua, a sexless person, one born without the possibility of sexual passion, also one who has attained that state of mind to be one with all light, such as Brahma, and properly called Iesu. The name Jesus was derived from this term. The Hebraic word Ayu was made from Isu, one who can hear the voice of the Great Spirit. Ayu has been improperly confounded with Jehovah. Okay. The Hebraic word Ayu was made from Ayesu, one who can hear the voice of the Great Spirit. Okay, so Ayesu is one who can hear the voice of the Great Spirit. Haters said, the gods will not let us choose any man. Now therefore hear me. All the lawgivers chosen by the gods have been Ayesu, or those who can hear the voice of the Great Spirit. Those are the lawgivers. The lawgivers are those who can hear the voice of the Great Spirit. All the lawgivers chosen by the gods have been Iesu. Now, since we cannot make preference as to a man, let us say the man Iesu. Okay. Okay. I do this in my own personal studies to make sure I'm getting it. Okay. All right. So let's go back. Verse 9, page 205. Yeah, 139, 140. Okay. The keeper of the gate, whose name was Zudas, thought to obtain the reward and hit upon the following plan, saying to Zarathustra, I know thee, thou art Zarathustra, who art banished under penalty of death. Boy. Where is it going? She went with your father. That's the first. You know that girl, whoever leaving, she rolling. They went to go get something to eat. Call them. I know thee, thou art Zarathustra, who art banished under penalty of death. I have no right to admit thee within the city, nor have I a desire to witness thy sure death. But if thou wilt secrete thyself till the change of watch, when I am absent on the king's reports, thou mayest take thy own risk. But if I admit thee, I will also be put to death. Zarathustra said, As for myself, I fear not, but I would not have thee put to death, but I will not have thee put to death on my account. Where then can I secrete myself till the change of watch? Okay. Zudas, the keeper of the gate, said, Within the chamber of the wall, go thou and thy friend with thee. So Zarathustra went into the chamber of the wall, and Asha went with him. And now, when they were concealed, Zudas called his wife and said unto her, Be thou here, walking back and forth, that they who are concealed will think that it is I. And I will run quickly to the guards, and they shall come and seize Zarathustra, for whom the reward is offered. You wretched! And the keeper's wife came and walked back and forth, and the keeper ran quickly and brought the guards, 1,000 men with spears and swords and war clubs and slings and bows and arrows, and they surrounded the place of the chamber on all sides. Then spake Zudas ironically, saying, Come forth, Zarathustra, now is the change of watch. Judas, would you betray your friend with a kiss? And Zarathustra and Asha came forth and beheld what was done. Zarathustra said to Asha, The light is upon me. Go thou with me. No harm shall come to thee. But now is the time to come in which I shall fulfill what hath been prophesied of me in my youth. Chapter 38. I'm sorry, no. What we at? 28. That's it, yeah. Chapter 28. Okay. Yeah, this story definitely the story of Jesus definitely has been adapted from the story of Zarathustra. So Zarathustra suffered himself to fall into the power of the Sun King, and the soldiers caused him and Asha to march in their midst to the place of the skulls. And there came thousands and tens of thousands of people forth to witness the proceedings. For at this time there were many who were in sympathy with Zarathustra, as well as many against him. And in order to stay the multitude, the captain of the army called out many soldiers in addition to those who made the arrest. Others ran to the king's palace, carrying the news of his arrest and the place he had been taken to. And the king said to the heralds, Though this man shall die, it is fit that proper judgment be rendered against him as an example before all men. Go, therefore, to the executioners and command them to bring Zarathustra into my presence, that I may adjudge him to death according to the law. Thus it was established. Zarathustra was brought before the king, who accosted him, saying, By thy behavior thou art accused before thy king, and I adjudge thee to death. But that thou mayest be. She going with that. They'll be back. They ran out to the store real quick. By thy behavior thou art accused before thy king, and I adjudge thee to death. But that thou mayest be an example before the world, I will render my judgment beforehand. Joshua. But that thou mayest be an example before the world, I will render my judgments before the heralds, who shall proclaim my words unto all who desire to witness thy death. First, then, thou wert ordered for arrest by my predecessor, and thou deliverest not thyself up to my soldiers, neither could they find thee, for which thou art adjudged to death. Second, without permission from the king of the sun, thou hast traveled in foreign lands, sowing seeds of disallegiance against the central kingdom, for which thou art adjudged to death. Third, the king of kings offered a ransom for thy head, and the king's soldiers were disappointed in finding thee, for which thou art adjudged to death. Fourth, in thy youth thou threatenest to overthrow the city of Oahspe, the city of the sun, and failedest to make thy word good, thereby being a teacher of lies, for which thou art adjudged to death. Open the door for your. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I forgot my phone.
Okay, y'all. This is the we're gonna end this at the end of this chapter. For in thy youth thou threatenest to overthrow the city of Oahspe, the city of the sun, and failedest to make thy word good, thereby being a teacher of lies, for which thou art adjudged to death. Fifth, thou hast cut off the foreign tribute to the rightful owner of the whole world, for which thou art adjudged to death. Six, they just steady racking up charges against him, right? And half of them is trumped up. No, babe, I'm good. Six, thou six, thou hast revived the doctrines of the dark ages, teaching of spirits and gods, which things cannot exist, because they are contrary to nature and contrary to the laws of the king of the world, for which thou art adjudged to death. Seventh, thou hast taught that there is an unseen creator greater than thy king, which is contrary to reason, for which thou art adjudged to death. Eighth, thou returnest to Oahspe not openly, but as a thief, and hid thyself in a chamber of the wall, for which reason thou art adjudged to death in the manner of thieves, which is the most ignoble of all deaths. Therefore, I command the executioners to take thee to the den of thieves, and cast thee therein, and on the morrow at high noon. That if y'all can y'all lower y'all voices? Y'all just getting louder and louder. Therefore, I command the executioners to take thee to the den of thieves, and cast thee therein, and on the morrow at high noon thou shalt be hung up by thy feet along with the thieves, where thou shalt be left hanging until thou art dead, that my judgment may appease thy best friends. What sayest thou against my decrees? Zarathustra said, all the charges thou hast made against me are true this day, but ere tomorrow's setting sun, I will have disproved some of them. Today thy kingdom is large. In 2 days I will be dead, and thou will be dead, and this great city will be destroyed. Yea, the temple of the sun will be rent in twain and fall as a heap of rubbish. The king laughed in derision, and then spake to Asha, saying, thou art an old fool. Go thy way. So Asha was liberated, and Zarathustra was taken to the den of thieves and cast therein. And the den of thieves were surrounded by the den of lions that belonged to the king's gardens, and a bridge passed over. And when the prisoners were within, the bridge was withdrawn, and no prisoner could escape, but would fall a prey to the lions, which were fed on the flesh of the persons executed according to the law. And that, my beautiful people, is where we end at for today. That was really, really good. So we're gonna pick this back up and find out exactly what happens, and we'll actually be finishing up the book of God's word tomorrow, because it looked like it's about to be the end of Zarathustra time on earth. I've really grown to love Zarathustra and his obedience to the great creator, and allowing his spirit to speak through him to change life all over the world, everywhere he walked, right? All right, y'all. So that was it. We started 2:07. Okay, y'all. Hold on to it. Let me go ahead and end this real quick. All right, y'all. It is Saturday, June 25th, 2022, day 142 of year 4 of reading through the books of the law and the prophets, and of the 4-year consecutive day count, day 1160. And we read pages 193 to page 207 in the Oahspe in the book of God's word. All right, beautiful people, that is it. We will be back here tomorrow bright and early, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm going to snap a picture of the chart and stuff and the couple definitions that we pulled out. I'll put that up today in the page number. You're welcome, Levine. You're welcome. Alicia, yeah. Hey, girl, hey. All right, y'all. Oh, thank you, Tiffany. Thank you. All right, y'all. That's it. I see y'all back here tomorrow. Love y'all. Peace.
Yo, call Kim. Kim staying out there yet.
Okay.
Hey, Mom.
You got to end that pool.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, y'all. Oh.